Many people view Friedrich Nietzsche as some kind of far-right icon. An intellectual icon among nationalists, fascists, and neo-Nazis. An intellectual inspiration for the far right. This amuses me. Nietzsche is right-wing. I do not deny that. But he is not far-right. One of the defining characteristics of the far right is collectivism. Nationalism, fascism, Nazism, all of these things are characterized by intense collectivism. Far-right politics is characterized by intense collectivism. Nietzsche hated collectivism. Nietzsche rejected the idea of a common good. He claimed that the idea of a common good was absurd and nonsensical. The idea of a common good is the basis of collectivism. If you do not believe in a common good, you are not a collectivist. Nietzsche rejected the concept of a common good, the concept upon which collectivism is founded. He viewed the concept of a common good as an absurdity. What is good is exceptional, unique, and superior. It is reserved for high individuals, not the herd. That is Nietzsche's view, and it is a far cry from the collectivism of the far right. Nietzsche constantly spoke negatively about the herd and the rabble. He openly looked down upon the masses. He openly despised common interests and groupthink. He aggressively rejected collectivism and advocated a kind of radical philosophical individualism. A defining attribute of far-right politics as we know it is collectivism and populism. Nietzsche despised these things. He hated the idea of a common good. He looked down upon the herd. Nietzsche's philosophy differs massively from far-right politics, which advocates intense collectivism. The idea that the race or the ethnicity is a cohesive political entity with one set of interests. This is a defining component of far-right ideology. Fascist ideology treats the state like an organism. The individuals are cells, they must dedicate themselves to the preservation and health of the larger organism. That is the fascist view. It is very different to the individualism of Nietzsche. It should also be noted that Nietzsche constantly insulted and mocked anti-Semites. In spite of arguably being an anti-Semite, Nietzsche looked down upon anti-Semitism, and that will be immediately obvious to anyone who has read his writings. He does not respect anti-Semites, he has intense disdain for them. He views them as intellectually inferior, he regularly mocks them and insults them. Nietzsche explicitly rejected the Jewish question, the idea that a cabal of evil Jews dominates the world. Nietzsche explicitly rejected this idea. Nietzsche was not very fond of anti-Semitism and anti-Semites. This is noteworthy because the political far right is home to a lot of anti-Semitism. Obviously, Nazism is a deeply anti-Semitic ideology. Anti-Semitism is one of its defining characteristics. Anti-Semitism is its most infamous characteristic. Nietzsche does have some right-wing tendencies. I do not deny that. He openly despises empathy and compassion. He hates equality and democracy. He is very illiberal. But he also has major philosophical disagreements with the far right. He has largely been associated with the far right because his work has been bastardized and weaponized by Nazis, including his deranged Nazi sister. Some people try to portray Nietzsche as a leftist. This is total nonsense. Nietzsche is far from being left-wing. As mentioned, he hated democracy and equality. He despised socialism. He hated empathy and compassion. Nietzsche is right-wing. Strongly right-wing. I do not deny that. But Nietzsche is not far-right. He is the enemy of the far right as we know it. Nietzsche has major philosophical disagreements with the far right. Most notably, Nietzsche rejects the extreme collectivism that defines nationalism, fascism, and Nazism.